With his legal action against a Rupert Murdoch-owned tabloid on hold in the UK due to coronavirus lockdowns, Johnny Depp on Friday saw Amber Heard's move to effectively steamroll Depp's $50 million defamation suit against her hit a significant judicial roadblock. Huge win for Depp as everyone turns on Heard? Wow! Johnny Depp is a wife-beater. This is the verdict of the UK courts. Just writing that sentence feels genuinely shocking, and yet, by now perhaps, it should not. For a start, the allegations that he was physically abusive to his ex-wife Amber Heard emerged more than 4 years ago, after she applied for a temporary restraining order against him following their divorce, citing domestic abuse. Ostensibly still set to go on to trial in the Commonwealth in August, the already litigious Depp first filed the suit just over a year ago in Virginia, which has more flexible defamation laws than California or New York. Ms. Heard is not a victim of domestic abuse, she is a perpetrator. The complaint from the Pirates of the Caribbean star insisted in reaction to an op-ed Heard wrote about domestic violence for the Washington Post in December 2018. Team Johnny unusually did not respond to request for comment on today's letter from White, but Heard's top lawyer Roberta Kaplan certainly tried to glean some victory from the sting of defeat to dismiss and avoid a trial. Today's decision leaves it to a jury to decide the meaning of Miss Heard's op-ed and the truth of what she said, the Kaplan Hecker and Fink LLP partner told Deadline, as the hope that the statute of limitations may have also worked in the Aquaman actor's favor withered. Defendant's demurrer is sustained as to the fourth statement listed above, but it is overruled as to the other 3 statements, wrote Fairfax, Virginia County Chief Judge Bruce White on Friday in a lengthy opinion letter, read it here, to lawyers on both sides of the personal and messy battle. Furthermore, defendant's plea in bar regarding the statute of limitations is denied. Counsel shall prepare an order reflecting the court's ruling and forward that order to the court for entry. The Virginia state judge added, noting the trio of statements by her distinctly implied that Depp had abused her, and she has claimed in the past. It should also not be a shock, given how many other hugely famous men have been accused of abusing women. Sean Connery was alleged to have beaten his first wife and frequently defended hitting women. His death this past weekend sparked online arguments about how much the coverage should focus on the professional achievements of a man who repeatedly insisted it was fine to hit women. If the woman is a bitch, or hysterical, or bloody-minded continually, as he said in 1965. But Depp is a very different figure from Connery. The latter represented alpha masculinity and aggressive sexuality. No one ever said it explicitly, but Connery's defenses for beating women fit in, on some level, with his image, and so that side of him was never going to be a problem with his audience. Depp, however, represented something else. He sued The Sun for defamation when it described him as a wife-beater, something Connery would never have done, and it's why for a certain kind of fan, me, this feels like the death of yet another childhood hero. And yet, unlike the ends of Kurt Cobain and River Phoenix, perhaps you couldn't describe this one as a shock. After the judge gave his verdict on Monday morning, Depp's notoriously virulent online followers, a different kind of fan, made sure they got the predictable hashtags trending, all proclaiming Depp's innocence. I often wonder about these online Depp fans, given that they are most likely in their 30s and 40s. Such online standing from the middle-aged is unusual, and yet that it is Depp who inspires it says a lot about him, both what he represented to my generation and how far he has fallen. Depp may appeal. The judgment is so flawed that it would be ridiculous for Mr. Depp not to appeal this decision, said a solicitor at the London law firm of Schillings, which represented Depp. But by now, most of the world has seen the photos of Heard's bruised face, and the court case presented a relationship that has become gruesomely toxic. The court heard recordings of Heard verbally abusing Depp and admitting to clocking him and throwing pots and pans at him. But none of that could change the fact that the judge, Mr. Justice Nicole, found the majority of Heard's allegations that Depp abused her proved to the civil standard, and that, therefore, the Sun was entitled to describe him as a wife-beater. It was always risky for Depp to pursue this case. Next year in the US, he has a $50 million defamation case against Heard regarding an opinion piece she wrote about being the victim of domestic abuse. The verdict of this case will surely have some impact on the next one. But it's not just the judge's verdict that has decimated Depp's reputation. For a while, his life has been absurdly over the top. When he was asked in 2018 if it was true, as his managers alleged, that he spent $30,000 a month on wine, he replied that this was insulting because it was far more. So testimonies about private jets, cocaine for breakfast, and arguments over, in perhaps the most memorable part of the trial, whether Heard or her Yorkshire Terrier had defecated in Depp's bed were titillating, but little more. More destructive to Depp's career and more dismaying to those who have followed him from the early days was seeing how low he had fallen, throwing phones at his wife's head, zonked out and covered in ice cream, so riddled with jealousy of Heard's male co-stars he referred to Leonardo DiCaprio as Pumpkinhead and Channing Tatum as Potato Head, sending vicious emails and texts to friends about Heard in which he referred to her as a flappy fish market. Aside from everything else, Depp had always been unusually eloquent for an A-lister, with a courtly, old-fashioned conversational style. That was part of his appeal. Now he was lobbing insults like a 6-year-old. Somewhere amid all the drugs and the drink, Depp seemed to lose his mind. As I looked at the photos of him, turning up to court looking like a self-parody in his perma-present piratical scarf and blue-tinted sunglasses, to argue over whether it was human or terrier excrement in his bed. I felt horrified, of course, but I also felt sad. This was not how it was supposed to go. To those watching, the verdict felt inevitable, Depp's trajectory less so. For those who came of age in the 90s, Depp represented a different way of being famous. He complicated the narrative. Along with Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, he was part of a holy trinity of grunge heartthrobs. They were the opposite of the Beverly Hills 90210 boys or Brad Pitt and DiCaprio because they seemed embarrassed by their looks, even resentful of them. Depp reportedly turned down Pitt's cheesecake role in Thelma and Louise. This uninterest in their own prettiness made them seem edgy, even while their prettiness softened that edge.